Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's version of Facebook Live. This is Janet Roper, and I am an animist, elder, and communicator, and I'm glad to have you today. So a couple of things to start off with is, first of all, if I look like I'm bundled up, I am, because it's damn friggin' cold here. I know it's May 20th, but this is Montana, and it's cold. And I'm really fighting not turning on the heat and not turning on the space heater. So I have bundles. I am got layers going on. And then the other thing that I want to confess up to, and it seems like I always start these Facebook Lives with confessions. Well, that's life. The other confession that I have is the Facebook Live that I had planned 6 minutes ago is not the same one that I'm going to do now. So just bear with me and we'll see how this turns out, okay? And you probably hear Raven because he hasn't eaten in 5 minutes. Raven is my cat who is downstairs in the kitchen because he thinks he hasn't eaten in 5 minutes and he wants to be fed. So there you go. But anyway, what I would like to talk about today is perfectionism, because all of us can fall into that perfectionism in some way, shape, or form. And to me, it seems as if women in particular fall into that. And maybe I'm biased, but women of my generation fall into that quite easily because we were taught to be good girls. We were taught to not stir up trouble. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all, that kind of thing. And that weighs a lot. And that weighs a lot on us. And in our interactions with each other and also with the beyond human sentient beings. So a few weeks ago, I wrote a blog post about perfectionism, which was really what I was going to talk about today. And in some way I am, but I'm taking it a little bit farther of the scope than what the post originally said. And so in perfectionism, I have a couple of projects that I'm working on right now. And can I just say that I am stuck in trying to do it perfectly? I am stuck in trying to do both of them exactly right. I am stuck in, oh my gosh, what happens if I don't do it like this? And that's just a hellish place to be. Can I say that? And I'm to the point, and I'm really grateful for this. And I think this happened like about 2 minutes before I went here on Facebook Live. I am really to the point where I am just tired of being stuck in that what ifs spot. So a couple of the projects, well, of course, both of them have to do, with me being online and working and all that kind of good stuff. And they're really not anything that I haven't done before. And I don't know what it is about these projects that's got me mired in the perfectionism, but it's there. And so I decided I need to figure out a couple of ways to deal with this because it was getting frigging tired of being stuck in that perfectionism. So I started to realize that me personally, when I get stuck in perfectionism, that leads to procrastination. I cannot tell you how many times I have gone out of my way not to work on those projects because I need to clean the toilet. Well, you know what? It's not going to hurt the toilet to wait for another day or so, right? But I have to do it right then and there because that is the procrastination of not working on those projects. And then something else that I've been doing is, okay, I've got to go to the grocery store now. I've got to do the laundry now. I have to do anything that I can think of doing except working on those projects. So there was a procrastination in that. And then as I I can't speak in the past tense yet, as I find myself procrastinating more and more and more on that, what that is actually leading to with both of those projects is paralysis. And I'm going, well, I haven't done this and they probably don't expect it of me now. And so I should just, pretend like maybe it's not going to happen and forget about it, conveniently forget about it. And I don't want to be there, folks. I gotta tell you honestly, I do not want to be there and I'm not going to be there. So in looking at my perfectionism, one of the things that I have done, which has been really helpful, is I asked, I think it was last week, a couple of friends if I could be accountable to them. And I said, look, you don't even need to respond. I just need to write in this place that by the end of this week, I'm going to have done A, B, and C. And, that's all I need from you guys is to hold the space, not even hold the space energetically, but, hold the space virtually, so to speak, so that I have a place that I can say, I'm going to do this, I'm committing to people, and therefore the projects or those parts of the projects got done. And they got done in a timely manner. And you know what? It wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. I mean, I live to talk about it, obviously. Okay. So then my next part is I'm going back into that, that perfectionism, that procrastination, and that paralysis. So my next step that I'm doing, and I started it this morning, is I worked on one of the projects for, I want to say, a half hour. And I set the timer and I gave my permission to stop after a half hour. And no joke, it was hard to breathe after that half hour as I was working on that project. Because again, it was that paralysis. What if I do it wrong? What if I'm not the good girl that's expected? What if I'm not the persona that's expected? Well, hell with that. I'm who I am. You know, basically with me, who you see at that time is who I am. And I'm pretty open-faced about that and pretty much put my cards on the table. So after my half hour of promised work this morning on one of the projects, I stopped, had lunch, and then I knew it was time for this. And then this afternoon, I'm going to work on the other project. Again, it's going to be for a half hour. So taking those small steps where I have committed to myself and sometimes even committed to other people that I have done this by such and such a date is really helpful. The other thing that, and I've talked about this before, and I've talked to this in the, what I've talked about this before is when it comes to setting up a question, you know, if you're getting ready to have some kind of intuitive session, and Max is barking at the magpies that are outside the window. But what I've talked about before is how to set up a question. If you have an intuitive session coming up and you're looking to get as much out of the session as you can. So one of the things that I've talked about is in setting up a question, which is also helping me today in getting my procrastination done and working on these projects that I need to do and I want to do very much so. So what I'm going to do is to say, I intend to, and I'm going to put in my verb, so that, and then it's the desired outcome. So this afternoon's project, it's going to be, I intend to work on project A for 30 minutes so that I am feeling comfortable with the project and I am pulling myself out of the perfectionism, the procrastination, and the paralysis. So I find whenever I set an intent like that, I intend to throw in that verb so that throw in, you know, whatever the desired outcome is, that really helps me. I keep it short and I keep it simple and I keep it focused. And being the Aquarius that I am, and, you know, for those of you who know me, you know, I like to go off on tangents. To keep it short, to keep it simple, to keep it focused, that takes a lot of energy from me. So sometimes that is why I can only work for like 30 minutes at a time when I am working that intensely and that focused. The other thing that I do, which is really kind of fun, is I found myself starting to work with the moon more and more and more and more in the past few weeks. And I've worked with the moon before, off and on, and in different ways, you know, track where the moon is. And, you know, I'm an Aquarius. So if I'm an Aquarius and the moon is here, what does that mean for me as an Aquarius? That kind of thing. And I also want to say that, you know, I'm not active in astrology, but I'm aware of it and I watch it. And I see how it affects me and ways that it can help me. So one of the things that I started doing, and I just did this weekend actually, was I'm a bullet journal. I got journals galore, both written in and some that, you know, need to be written in. And I'm saving some of those for, you know, special reasons, just in case. And it's a good thing that I had that just in case moon journal around this weekend because I needed it to actually start tracking, you know, the phases of the moon, what it means for me, what my commitment is, how I'm going to work with the moon. Now, I also work with a Panda planner, and I had been putting my moon stuff in there, but it just got to be too much because it was like, have to remember, you know, when the full moon is, when the waning moon is, when the waxing moon is, when the new moon is. We have to remember those dates. Then I had to, you know, thumb back and look through it and everything. So starting with this moon journal has really helped me. And so when I combine working the intent, my intention, with the moon, I'm finding that to be really incredibly helpful. So if you think about what your intention is, I intend to remember to insert that verb so that, insert that desired outcome. And then I'm going to read this so I don't get it wrong. For the new moon, whoopsie, move over. For the new moon, it's all about setting intentions, manifestations, and new beginnings. Okay. And so when you look at the calendar and you see that new moon is up there, start thinking about what that intention is that you're going to use. Okay. The first quarter moon is about inspired action, taking a leap and committing to moving forward. So, you've set up your intention with the new moon. With the first quarter moon, what kind of inspired action can you take? I did that this month, okay, with the first quarter moon, or actually with the new moon, I set up my intent. With the first quarter moon, I looked at my inspired action and I wrote down what it was going to be. Okay, and then I wrote down the steps that it was going to take me to do that inspired action. Because again, this goes back to my perfectionism, paralysis, my perfectionism, procrastination, and paralysis that I learned so well as a kid, because it was kind of dumped on me, by family, by friends, by culture, by society, by ancestors. And I'm going to break that. That's just what I'm going to do, okay? So when I used this month to write down my intention for the new moon, my inspired action for the first quarter moon, that brought me around to the full moon, which is, we're kind of past it, but basically it's where we're at now. And it was about, the full moon is about harvesting endeavors, introspection, and releasing what doesn't serve. So as I went back and looked at my intent, my intention, and my inspired action, it was like, okay, what have I learned from this thus far? Now, what can I release? And I did that last night, and it was very helpful. And then the last quarter, which will be coming up next week, is about gratitude and celebrating your accomplishments. So I'm finding that to be an extremely helpful way for me to move when I have projects that I'm paralyzed about, or afraid of, or, that I wanted to be perfect. And that's just not going to happen because we're not perfect. And the projects will be as they are and as they need to be. So like I say, this was not where I intended today's Facebook Live to go. When I had planned it out, last week when I was planning it, or earlier this week, I should say. Last week when I was planning it. This is just Monday. When I was planning it last week, I did not plan for it to go in this direction. But this is apparently the direction that it needed to go in. So I hope this helps. And just as a reminder that if you are stuck in perfectionism and procrastination and paralysis, that one of the things that can help you is to make a commitment to some friends and say, by such and such a date, I'm going to do this. And, at least for me, that helped me be accountable and take those beginning action steps. You can also, when writing your intention, remember to use I intend, and then put in your verb, and then put in the phrase so that, and then add your desired outcome. I intend to verb, so that desired outcome. And then, it's a hoot. Try working with the moon and see what happens. And I know people who work with the moon will say, Janet, that's really practically sacrilegious for you to say it's a hoot, but that's the way I'm experiencing it. So there you go, folks. The new moon, setting intentions. First quarter moon, inspired action. Full moon, harvesting endeavors, releasing what's no longer needed. Last quarter is about gratitude and celebrating your accomplishments. If this is something you want to talk about, leave comments below. Happy to respond what I can. If you want to set up a discovery call so that we can talk more about this, go to my website and go to the Work With Me, top right hand, click on that, scroll down to Starting Out, click on that, and you will see where it says to set up a discovery call. Discovery calls are about 20 to 30 minutes. They're for us to get a feeling of knowing each other better, so to speak. I know I have some friends who call it having tea or having coffee, and I kind of like that. I might have to steal that from them. But for right now, I'm calling it a discovery call. And, you know, there's no strings attached to a discovery call. We're just getting to know each other better. So I wish you luck. And gee, it's going to be interesting to see what next week Facebook Live is going to be about. Always an adventure. Thank you so much for coming, and have a great day, evening, wherever you are at in the world.